So hello my beautiful loves. Today we're going to be speaking about law of assumption, ignoring the 3D. This is a thing here. For the ones, I really feel like people misunderstood how does this works. Now, law of assumption is pretty much the same than manifesting or manifestation work. Pretty much the same, just does have a different point of view, but it's pretty much everything is the same. Just they have different points of view, and you can focus on whatever point of view is more easier for you to actually manifest, right? When we speak specifically law of assumption, it really tells you to ignore the 3D. And this can make you feel like you're out of your mind, like you're delusional, you're lying to yourself. This can make you feel really bad and can make things very hard, because it would look something like this. Let's say you're telling yourself, I'm rich, and then you get the bill of the phone and you're like, oh my gosh, I'm going to be on zeros. You're trying to tell yourself you're rich, but then your reality is not showing that you are rich, and you try to keep telling yourself like you're rich, I am rich, right? And then your subconscious is going to tell you what you're talking about, like you're on zeros. From where are you rich? You're lying to yourself, and this feels very delusional. I'm going to give you an amazing example to understand this. Okay, I'm going to use two examples. We're going to use Las Vegas and Walt Disney to give you an example of this. Could also this is the people I really like to study, right? The people who use it in manifestation work without even knowing they're using manifestation work. I'm going to actually give you 3 examples. Also, I'm going to give myself as an example of what I have manifested and how. Okay, for example, let's start with Las Vegas, right? So Las Vegas, before where Las Vegas, it was a desert. There was a complete desert. There was nothing in there, right? Nothing, absolutely anything there. It was a freaking desert. And then a person who really owned a lot of money to a mafia, this person there's a movie, I think there's a movie. This person get lost there, and this person saw on his head, this can be a city here where it can be used for, doing these card games and giving money, this and that, like everything very mafia like, and this, the reality is that there was nothing there, was not a city there, was a freaking desert, was not even water close to it, but this person saw this on his head, and he was like, this will be an amazing idea to make this city. At the end, they end up doing the city. They end up killing the guy because they didn't trust on his idea. They were like, you're out of your mind, right? You're out of your mind. How you see a city in the freaking desert? So this is one example. Walt Disney, right? There was the first park, I think was the first park of Disneyland that was made. Disney already passed away, like he was already dead, and they were doing a reporter tell to the Walt Disney daughter, it's a shame that your father was not able to see this, right? And Walt Disney daughter she answered to the reporter, if you're seeing it, it's because he already saw it on his head. So this is what it means, ignoring the 3D reality. It doesn't mean lying to you. It doesn't mean being delusional. It means that as humans, we do imagination. Reality can be transformed. Always, everything can be transformed. It's like Play-Doh. You can change shapes of things, of people, of energies. Like everything is fixable, everything is changeable, right? It doesn't matter what. Like you can completely change a freaking desert into Las Vegas. Like, yeah, totally. You can be you can be like, remove it from your work, and your boss telling you like, you're out of this work because you do not have imagination, and then be the most creative person on this freaking world, like Walt Disney. Do you understand where I'm trying to go, like where I'm going with this information, right? Also, Thomas Edison is another person that I freaking love. I love those stories. I do study those stories. Louis Vuitton, Thomas Edison, Walt Disney, who else? Those are my favorite ones, but I do like these kind of stories of people who, from nowhere created a whole empire from nothing, because they were using manifestation, work, or law of assumption without even knowing. Like, yes, they did. Also, Einstein. I think Einstein started speaking until like 6 years old, and a teacher told him, "You're never going to be anything on your life." Like, do you think the teacher regrets telling that to Einstein when he was a kid? Yes, I totally think he does. But this is where I'm trying to go. That's why when doing manifestation work or law of assumption work, they ask you to keep a high frequency. It's not like you're on this energy of depression, super sad, because the person you love cheated on you or left you or do a lot of damage to you, and be crying all day, and then trying to be delusional, trying to tell yourself, I'm okay, which that happened to me. I'm okay, I was delusional on my last relationship, trying to keep myself on seeing the good of things, but inside I was dead. I was freaking dead inside, and that was being delusional. And that's why I can explain you this now. So everything that bad that happens to us is going to bring you something good. You just need to learn how to use it at your favor. Very, very important. So when people tell you to stay on a high frequency, is not to be delusional, is not to lie to yourself. You need the motivation, you need that motor on the back, that push, that inspiration motor. That's what you need. It's not that you need to be telling yourself, okay, I'm very dead inside, but I feel good. I'm happy, I feel good, I'm abundant, I'm happy, and then feeling like crying 5 minutes after. It's not that. You need that motivation. That's what they do mean when they tell you to stay positive, to have a high frequency, to vibe on positive. Is this: have that motor on the back, have this motivation of what you want. That's why you need to really want it. They tell you really need to want it to show universe that you do want. But instead, it would look more like this, more like, this is what I want, and I'm going to get it. And this is how I want it, and I'm going to get it like this. It doesn't matter what it takes. I'm going to get it, right? So this is the I really want it. It's not like convincing yourself like, I can do this. It's like it needs to come from here. It comes from here. Like when you really want something, it comes from here, right? And you feel it here, and it's that push. I really want this, and I'm going to freaking get it. It's that warrior energy. That warrior energy comes. You can activate the warrior energy. In my case, a manifestor. Like, I have the warrior energy activated all the time. When I want something, I want something, and I'm very much like this. And this is why I manifest stuff. Like, I did manifested my computer completely free. I did manifested a writing specifically I can explain you the writing table I do have that I manifested completely free. The vintage table for writing that I manifested. I can explain you this because I know what I did. It was not purposely. I was not working with manifestation yet, but still I did manifested this. But I do know what I did, so I do know how I manifested it. So when they tell you that you need to ignore the 3D, here's the thing. I really wanted this beautiful vintage writing table, very vintage looking from ancient times. Like, it looks like someone that is rich. I really wanted it, but I didn't have it, and they were very expensive. So what I started to do, I started to, let's say, how can I explain this? I started to vibe on the energy. I was like, I don't even know if I'm going to get this table, and I'm not going to get old waiting for the table to come to me. So I used started to decorate the other table I do have with a vintage thing. So I did find a little, wood thingy that would look kind of like vintage, kind of like, and I'll put it on my table. And then I did get like a set of tea, right, and I'll put it like at the side of the table. And then I get like notebooks that would give the vintage looking, right, and put them there. And I did change it in that time. I did change it coffee for tea, for black tea, because I was like, this is what people was drinking on those times, right, like rich people, like tea. And I did get a beautiful cup. I did, and I started every single day to sit there to write, because I wanted to be a morning person, because I'm a freaking night person. But when I started, because I wanted the motivation, and I was like, a table would give me the freaking motivation to wake up early, to have this kind of like Victorian vibe and waking up happy, it would really help. But having in consideration that those tables were very expensive, I was like, you know what, I'm going to start to assume I already have it. I'm just going to decorate. I'm going to set the vibe to feel it like that. So so I don't really need the table. Although I really want it, I don't really need it. So I started to set the vibe. I started to assume in my imagination that my ugly table was a vintage rich person table, right? Because I set the whole thing there in order to be more believable for me and be more on the vibe. So this is what people means when they tell you to be at the vibe, or at the same match level energetically of what you want. This is what they mean. So, also showing the universe that you really wanted, but you don't need it. Can you see? Like, can you find those key points, right? So they tell you a lot. You need to, to really want it, but don't really need it, and sometimes it does not make sense. This is what they do mean, and you have to be the match of what you are looking for. You need to be on the vibe, on the energy of what you want. This is what they mean, okay? When they tell you that you need to be on a high frequency, being happy, without having it, still not needing it, but wanting it. Can be very confusing, but this is what they do mean, okay? So and when they tell you to assume that you already have it or it's already done, this is what they mean, is that you are secure on yourself, that you are going to have it. It doesn't matter what. So can be looking like this, like in my head I was like, I know I freaking wanted that table. Right now I may not have the money to buy it, but I'm going to freaking have it. I don't care. Right now I'm just setting the vibe, because I need to be a morning person right now. And I was like, I'm just going to freaking set the vibe, but I'm going to have that table. It doesn't matter what. So in my head I was like, it doesn't matter what it takes. I'm going to have that table, or a table that looks like that, right? And I ended up manifesting an actual vintage table, like actually a table that was from someone who was important on history, on the writing. So when they tell you to ignore the 3D, it doesn't mean ignore the 3D. It means that yes, this is what I have right now, but is everything is changeable, everything is fixable, and I do really want this, and I'm going to have it, and I'm going to get it, right? I'm going to do whatever it's needed in order to have it, right? And it's how you manifest it. So when they tell you to ignore 3D, is knowing that what we imagine comes to reality when you really, really want it, right? And Also, like I told you on this story on how I manifested this writing table, it's a lot of point keys, like key points, that it really tells you what they mean on everything they tell you about ignoring 3D, being on the match, energetically being the match of what you want, being at the same level, keep yourself, in a high frequency, letting go. This is what they mean. You can really study that story I tell about how I manifested that table, because have all the steps that the people tells you. And I'm going to tell you, I'm pretty sure a lot of people charges for this information. That's why you don't find this information nowhere, because people is charging for this information, because this is how it works. For example, Thomas Edison, people would tell him that he was out of his mind, and he never cared what people was saying. He was like, I'm going to invent the light bulb, right? And he was very insistent and persistent, and he had a very, very hard time getting the right materials. At the end of the day, he invented the light bulb, and the people who call him crazy probably did regret that, because at the end of the day, he did invented that. Or for example, Louis Vuitton, he was homeless, and in his head, he was going to create this empire, right? And he did. Although he was homeless, people would tell him like, you're out of your mind. He was very young. He was like 14, 15, between 13 to 15 years old when he started working, like just started working from to his brand. Very young. He was homeless. And he ended up, although he was not the one who completed the whole cycle, was I think his grandkids who completed the cycle of this empire. But he really teaches his sons and his grandsons how to keep working this empire. That's why you need this push, this motor, this motivation to do it, really wanting it, and really be willing to have it, right? When we speak about a specific person, or we speak about people or manifesting versions of a people, right? For example, I did manifested, like we had a horrible neighbors, and I get tired of it, and I manifested the best neighbors ever. And what I pretty much did was just think that pretty much ignoring the bad thing, and thinking that they were the best neighbors ever. And that, and I started to act as if they were, and I started to say hi, good morning every morning, and I started to be the good neighbor to them, and they started to change until they become reciprocate to that, and they started to be amazing neighbors, and they're amazing now. But it goes different. Here is the thing. This is a mindset I do have, and I really think that love always wins, and you can always win when it is done with love, right? So this is a mindset I do have. When I would do things, I would do it from love. Even the bad things I do them from love. And my point of view is like a mother, that sometimes you need to allow your kids to experience a bad experience in order for them to understand that it's bad. For example, when you're mopping the floor and it's wet, and you tell your kid like, stay there because it's wet, and you're going to and they don't want to obey, then you let them, and it happens to them. So when I do bad things, this is the kind of that's the mindset I do have. So even when I do bad things, it's from love. It's with love, so people can understand things, or can. Sometimes I also feel like sometimes people does not know how it feels until it's done to them, until someone else do it to them, so they can understand how it feels what they are doing. And I do also have this kind of like mindset too. Since very young, I have had this mindset. So when I do things that are not the most beautiful things ever, is because of this. Either because I'm allowing a person to see that experience, understanding what is going on, or use this, right? But always from love, you are always going to win. Always, always, always. Especially if you're able to transform energy into something positive to you, to learn from the bad stuff, right? Learning from it so you can get something from it. And I'll give you as example Louis Vuitton. When he started, before he started his brand, he was working with the metals, like doing things with metal. If you notice, Louis Vuitton bags, like the traveling bags, have a metal on the on all the corners. So it may really have been a very bad experience for him to be 13 years old working with metal and fire, and being like on a risk of burning yourself or touching a hot stuff. It may be horrible, right? But at the end of the day, this helped him create this part of the brand, right? You can notice that on the traveling bags, that they have a metal on the corners and also on the middle, I think. So he learned it from the bad stuff that happened to him, and this is how it is done, right? This is how it is done. So very important to understand. So, for example, when manifesting a specific person that you want romantically or you like romantically, but this person already told you, I freaking hate you, I don't like you, I'm over you, like, no. And you want to manifest this person back in a romantic way, the mindset would be very player type of mindset. I'm going to tell you why. Because usually players, when they get on their head that they want to be with someone, it really gets stuck on their head, and they're like, I'm going to have that person, I'm going to have that person, I'm going to be able to take that woman to bed, right? Even if that is the only thing they do want. This is an example. But this is the mindset you need, right? Like, I'm going to be able to change her mind, and they start to be very like this warrior energy and trying to change the woman perspective, and most of them do change the woman perspective, and most of them end up taking the woman to the bed. This is the mindset. Where are you going? Because they're detached from it. They're not in love with the woman. They just want to take the woman to bed, and they have this stuck on their head. So they're very detached from the woman. They're not attached like, I really want this woman to marry me. They're very detached. They don't really care, if they have the woman or not. They don't really care. They just want to get this out of them, right? Like this necessity of, I need to have this woman, right? So when you want to manifest someone romantically, this is the mindset you need. You need to be detached. Remember the table story I give you? I was detached. I really wanted it. I didn't need it, but I was willing to have it. So remember the table I manifested story, so you can understand. But you need to be detached. And this is why players have so many women interested on them because they're detached. They're freaking detached. They're not attached to no one. That's why they attract a lot of women. That's why they attract a lot of people, a lot of sexual encounters, if that's what they are looking for, because they're detached from it, right? They're detached from it. So when it comes to manifesting romantically, you need to be detached. You need to really want it, but be detached. Like, it doesn't matter if I have it or not right now. Anyways, I'm going to have it, right? Be willing to do whatever it takes to, change the present moment or what it is right now. So like I said, if the person told you, I freaking hate you, you need to be willing to do changes or to change your frequency in order to change your reality right now, right? So this is very important to understand. So that is, so here it is, the information that everyone is charging for, completely free. Now, it's very different. First, you need to be able to, when you start to be awakened, the more you awake, the more you understand this, the easier it is for you to understand it and to acknowledge it, right? But still, because you're acknowledging it, it doesn't mean it's easy to put it on practice. It can be hard. It can be hard. It needs a lot of practice. So also keeping that on mind, like you're not going to be able to do it right away. It requires practice because it's not that easy to put it on practice. Like, it's very important for you to be able to acknowledge this information and to understand that. If you still kind of like lost right now and you kind of understand what I'm telling you, but not really, you need to awaken more, right? There's more awakening for you in order for you to understand this information. But also it's very important to practice, to start putting it on practice, to start experimenting with this. This is the point of view I do have. I'm very experimental type of person. Actually, a friend that once told me, you experiment more than USA. He's not from USA, he's from Russia, but he was like you do experiment more than USA. I'm very experimental type of person, and then I come with ideas, and when I need a person to experiment with, I always ask him, like, can we try this? Like, I want to experiment this, I want to experiment that. And he is very square type of person, very studied person. He has some kind of spirituality. He's very knowledge on also astrology. He knows a lot about astrology, more than myself, but he is always the person that is willing to experiment with me, whatever idea I do have, because I'm very creative, and I do come with a lot of ideas, and I would encourage you to see it from this point of view. Use experimenting, use living the experience of it, see what it works, what it doesn't work. If you have the possibility to find a friend like myself, you can experiment it with, for example, telepathy, right? Or connecting on dreams, or this or that. It would be amazing to have a friend to be able to do that with, like I do. But, if not, I mean, with the ex-partner I remember a few times I tried to connect mentally with him, and he at the 3 to 5 minutes he would appear in front of my door. And he was like, I was thinking on you. So then also having friends that are open to speak also can be helpful, even if you don't tell them you're experimenting with them. Everything is just an experience. So see it that way. It needs to be fun. Like when it starts to be heavy, when it starts to be like frustrating, or like, I don't want to do this anymore, this is hard, stop there, give some time to yourself, and then keep trying manifesting, because it really needs to be lightheaded, and fun. It needs to be fun. So if you're not an experimental person like myself, or you do not find fun experimenting, you can use something else, Also can be flirting, like just flirting with ideas. I don't know, whatever point of view you want to put on, as long as it's interesting for you, keep you interested on it, and make you wanting to do the manifestation work. Because the moment it comes heavy to you, you need to stop. Okay, because it's not going to work. Okay, very important to understand that. It needs to be fun. So, my beautiful loves, mis hermosos amores, it was a beautiful moment with you. I really hope you liked this video. Let me know if you're interested on speaking more about this law of assumption, manifestation work. To me, all of them are the same. Just they have different points of view. You're seeing it from a different point of view, and this help different kind of mentalities adapt to it in a better way. So you can choose whatever is more efficient for you to work with. But at the end of the day, everything is the same. So very important to understand that. Well, I will say bye. It was a pleasure having you here. And like always, you already know, be good. And if you're going to be bad, also you already know, invite me. Bye-bye.